Welcome, all my fellow Nerd Knights, to episode 11 of our Hero Quest painting series, where we're going to be painting the skeleton. Pretty easy, nothing too crazy. Obviously, first off, I want to thank all of our YouTube members. You guys are awesome for your contributions and supporting the channel. And obviously, you guys get first pick of what gets painted, so hit me up on Instagram what you want to see painted next. If this is your first time at the channel, or if you are a returning watcher and haven't hit that subscribe button, I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, hit that likes, because you're awesome if you do it. But without further ado, let's go. As always, we're going to start with scraping the nasty mold lines off the miniatures. And there are quite a few on these, unfortunately. If you need some supplies, check the description below or for the full paint list. Next, we're going to take some black primer. I'm using an airbrush, but you can use spray paint and hitting that whole thing in black, followed by a nice zenithal highlighting of white because we want the bones to be lighter, obviously, so we're going to do some white. First off, we're going to take all of our bone areas and hit that with some Steel Legion Drab. Once putting all of that Steel Legion Drab onto our bone, we're going to take some Morghast Bone and go over that. Now, if you don't hit every single area, it's not a big deal. We're trying to create that nice variant from dark brown bonish to a very light bone, so you'll see it in the end result. Next, we're going to take some Ushabti Bone and we're going to be hitting those raised areas of our bone just to get some preemptive strike of kind of light bone areas. How many times am I going to say bone? Too many. For our raised tunic areas, we're going to be using some Screaming Bell onto that area just to give it that nice bronzy look that'll be dulled down with our wash here in a little bit. For the leathery areas, we're going to be using some Mournfang Brown. Not the fur, just the ankles and the one you can see behind the gauntlet on the left hand of our skeleton. For our fur areas on our ankle gauntlets and on our left hand of our skeleton, we're going to use some Gorthor Brown. And don't forget to get that backside behind the gauntlet of that miniature. For the shaft of our scythe, we're going to be using some Skrag Brown. And for all of our metal areas, we're going to be using some basic Leadbelcher. This is going to include the blade, the gauntlets, the shoulders, and the hip guards of our skeleton, and the chainmail on the front of our skeleton. For the straps on the top of the blade, we're going to be using some Eshin Grey. For our blue areas to match the card art, because I think we've done pretty well so far to match the card art, we're going to use some Ahriman Blue. We're going to use this on the front of the groin area, on the back side, and there's a side area as well. There's also a portion below the chin area. It kind of sticks out like he had a shirt on or she had a shirt on before and is now, it is gone. It is decayed, it is death, it is destruction. It is exactly what we expect from a skeleton trying to kill us. Old and decrepit. For our wash, we're just going to use one basic wash, and that's going to be Agrax Earthshade. Now, while you're letting this thing dry, head over to our Instagram at nerd.nights, where you can keep up to date with everything we're doing. I'm also going to be doing some giveaways of some free board games, so you don't want to miss out. You want to go over there and subscribe over there and stay tuned. Once we are dry with our wash, we're going to start with some Necron Compound, a little bit of dry brush on all of our metal areas. Try not to get it on anywhere else. Go as lightly as possible. We're going to use a lot of the same colors to brighten up because the focal point of this miniature is going to be our bones. So we're going to take more time on that. We're going to take that Ahriman Blue and we're going to use that onto our blue portions of our miniature. We're going to put some white into the eye sockets, also some white into the mouth portion of our miniature, just to kind of set the tone. And we're going to use some things at the end of this video to give us a glow effect. Just a little preemptive strike right here. For the gray portions of this, we're going to do some Eshin Grey. And for the wood portion of our scythe, we're going to use some Steel Legion Drab over the top of the Skrag Brown. Just kind of dull it out a little bit. Some original Gorthor Brown on our fur, and again, we only want to hit those raised furry areas. We don't want to get into the recesses of anything. A reapplication of Mournfang Brown on the raised areas of our ankle guards. And finally, some Ironbreaker onto our brass tunic area. Just doing a little bit of edge highlighting, a little bit on the buttons that are around the waist area, just to kind of make it look a little bright and some old rustic look. Now this is going to be everything for, well, everything besides the bones we're about to hit into. Now we're going to be doing the bone, which is going to be our focal point of this miniature. And while we're doing this, obviously we're taking our time. This is going to be the most time-consuming portion of this miniature, but it's going to make it look the best. So we're going to take some Ushabti Bone and we're going to be using it onto our bone area. And we don't want very much paint on our brush. We want to keep going back to the well with very little brush paint and continually just building up our highlights, as you can see through these frames that I am showing you. Don't be afraid to do multiple layers of thin painting onto your bone. That's what you want, and you're going to see that gradient from that dark brown to the very, very last highlight of white that you will see done as a gradient of bone from very old to very bright bleached white. After the Ushabti Bone, we're going to take some Screaming Skull, and we're basically going to go over the same areas we did with the Ushabti Bone. The raised areas, the bone that is kind of sticking out, the facial expressions, and you can see that you can already tell that the differentiation between the colors is sticking through and it's creating that old rustic skeleton look. Looks much better than just painting it white and then putting a contrast paint or something of 1, 2, 3 colors on there. We're building up those highlights, making it look really nice. When people look at this miniature, they're going to be drawn to the skeleton aspect of this miniature and that white that is coming through. For the final highlight of our bone, we're going to take some pure white. You want pure white, and we're just going to do little dabs here and there on the raised areas, a little bit on the face, obviously a little bit on our knuckles, our kneecaps, on our little toesies of our skeleton, and just raised areas. There's no rhyme or reason. Less is more, though, in this situation. You really want to make it stand out, but you don't want to overdo it. So just very seldomly put little pieces here and there. With that bone completely done and you're satisfied of how it looks, I'm sure it looks fantastic because you guys always send me pictures of your miniatures. I'm sure it looks great. We're going to take some Aethermatic Blue, dab that into the eye sockets and on the mouth, and you're going to match that card art with that glowing blue effect, and it's going to look fantastic. And then your favorite part of painting a miniature, the base, because that means we're done. And I'm doing it in Abaddon Black, obviously. And that's it. Look how good you did. You probably did better than I did. And I want to see it, and send me a picture on Instagram. I'm sure you did awesome. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out. We have so many games. I have 30-something games on Kickstarter coming to me, so it's going to be a busy couple years. Until next time, paint on.